I'd like to call the meeting back to order. We'll have a report of actions taken in closed session. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There was no reportable action tonight in closed session.
Thank you. We'll now have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Sullivan and the Invocation by Pastor Santiago. Good evening, Pastor.
Good evening. We'll start with a scripture reading, James chapter 3. Who is wise and understanding among you? Let them show it by their good life, by deeds done in the humility that comes from wisdom. But if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast about it or deny the truth. Such wisdom does not come down from heaven, but is earthly, unspiritual, demonic. For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder and every evil practice. But the wisdom that comes from heaven is first pure, then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. Peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for our city, and thank you for our elected and appointed officials, the businesses, the churches, the families, and the individuals that make our city the great place that it is. In this time of deep need as a nation, help us again. We cry out for your righteousness, justice, and mercy. We pray for all that have lost loved ones in the school shootings and political assassinations. We pray for the healing of our nation, protection and safety of our children, and most vulnerable. Safety in the public arena and in our streets. O Sovereign Lord, help us again. We pray for this council meeting tonight. Give the council members wisdom and guidance as they deliberate on the items before them. May every decision be righteous in your sight for our benefit and for your glory. Almighty One, I thank you for this meeting today. Lord, there is an agenda, and we ask that your Holy Spirit lead and direct all discussions that take place during this council meeting. I pray that you will use the skills and abilities within each of our council members and participating citizens to accomplish the task set before us. Help us to remain positive in all decisions made and to maintain peace and goodwill towards each other. God bless our great city of Norco. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Bless
you. Thank you, Pastor. Appreciate it. Okay, have a couple of presentations to do, and just as a reminder, all the proclamations will be kept at our Heritage Room at the Community Center. These go following the meetings with exhibits that are appropriate. If you have any questions or need assistance, contact the City Clerk's office. Thank you. The first one is for Hispanic Heritage Month. Whereas the City of Norco recognizes its local Latino and Hispanic history and reflects on the strides we have made to ensure that all citizens feel accepted and included. And whereas the City of Norco is a diverse community that is honored to celebrate the history and legacies of Latino and Hispanic community members who have contributed to the economic, cultural, spiritual, and political development of our city, state, and country. Now, therefore, I, Greg Newton, Mayor of the City of Norco, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th, 2025 as Hispanic Heritage Month. And the second one is the National Preparedness Month. In 2025, the theme for National Preparedness Month, entitled Preparedness Starts at Home, urging citizens to take fundamental steps like making a family plan, building a disaster kit, and staying informed with local risks and emergency preparedness. This is the responsibility of every Norco resident, and all residents are urged to develop and plan and prioritize preparedness so that we are equipped to work together to ensure that our residents and our animals are ready for emergencies and disasters. Now, therefore, I, Greg Newton, Mayor of the City of Norco, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim September 2025 as National Emergency Preparedness Month. Thank you. Okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and start regional boards, and we'll start with Councilmember Bash.
So we had a really good Riverside Conservation Authority workshop. We had very good attendance. I think a lot of people didn't understand the plan, now understand it, so that was really good. WRCOG, I guess the only thing we have going on there is we're getting ready to move into our new building. And by the way, any council person that would like to go look at the new building, that opportunity is there. One of the things that was discussed in admin finance is, I don't know if you know this, but just a couple days ago, the State Assembly, they voted literally unanimously that to the tune of I think $60 billion, that the damage that SCE Edison wrought on Los Angeles, that cost is going to be passed on to the ratepayers. And it was really a shocking vote. And unfortunately, we couldn't get to our assembly person because we didn't have one. And so it's really, really frustrating. Leticia Castillo voted. She abstained, which is, in the parlance of Sacramento, is a no, and no is hell no. But unfortunately, it passed, not a single no vote. What that means, though, is it means that Edison probably will have the money to build the RTRP. And one of the things we were hoping is that, I mean, it's a terrible situation, but one of the hopes was they would not have the funding to complete that project, which they still may not have the funding to complete that project. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Fia?
On September 10th, I attended the RCTC board meeting, and we had some legislative updates and business as usual. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg?
I don't have anything that's up there, but I'd like to have a big shout out to the Sheriff Department, Sullivan and Newton. Not Newton, but the other sergeant. Newman, there you go. You were close. I was close. The big guy. They did a phenomenal job at the fair. It was great working with them, and they did an awesome job. And then on another note, this Saturday at the farm at 5 o'clock to 7 is a Drowning Prevention Heroes charity event, which we all know everybody needs to learn how to swim. But they have a banquet, and I'm encouraging anybody with the city that would like to go. They'll have a table for us. And that's pretty much all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Robin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On September 15th, I attended the Norco City Schools meeting. Lots of positive news from the school district, specifically our trustee, Nicola. There's been furniture refreshes done at all of the Norco schools now, so that's all complete, and it's been a game changer for the students in the classroom. Modernization is coming to Norco High School per the district. So they'll be looking at a new auxiliary gym at Norco High School, updates to the current gym, which will be the first update since it was built. And then they'll be looking to do they're working on the tennis courts now. Library will start in December with some modernization. The baseball scoreboard should be up by the end of the year as well. So lots of improvements at our Norco area schools that the district has worked hard on, and they're very proud of the work that they've been able to accomplish in Norco. Veterans Commission was also that evening. We had robust discussion about the Veterans Plaza and what that looks like today and going forward, and that discussion will likely continue at our next meeting. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Robin. Beginning of the month, we got back in our meetings, so I attended the Board of Directors meeting for the Chino Basin Desalter Authority, and everything is moving smooth on that. I did want to, not good news, as you know, from the beginning of the year, been involved and we're working on Senate Bill 322, which is the Urban Equestrian Inclusion Zone. And I believe back in May, this got through Senate appropriations and then was moving towards the complete group when our friends at HCD wrote a letter challenging this bill under the premise of that it would affect housing and property taxes. But if anyone had taken the time to read the bill certainly addressed that there would be no net loss of housing. And apparently that didn't mean anything, so they kicked it back to appropriations to, at this point, sit on the vine and die. So, and this was a bipartisan bill. Don't know what'll happen. We'll probably wait to the beginning of the year and see if we can try to bring it back again. But it was just part of that agenda that we deal with every day. So with that, that's the end of our reports on committees and boards. And I'll call upon the city clerk for any public comments.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the time when persons wishing to address the presiding governmental body regarding the consent calendar, legislative matters, or items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the legislative body. Please submit a speaker card to the meeting clerk. Please limit comments to 3 minutes or less. The Ralph M. Brown Act limits governmental bodies' ability to respond to comments on non-agendized matters at this time. Such comments are made. The governmental bodies shall not discuss or act relative to any general public comment. And our speaker is Jeff Cahan.
Do we have any other cards?
No.
Welcome, Jeff.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I'm sure you're unaware of my future plans, so I thought I would wear a little subtle hint. Who would have thought that 9,435 days would go by so fast? If you want to do the math, that's almost 26 years. Can't really wrap up that time in 3 minutes. So I just want to say thank you for your hard work and your dedication. I feel obviously mixed emotions having to leave Norco, but very happy to be exiting California. You guys have been special. You're all my friends. We've done so many things together. I'll be taking all those friendships and memories with me. We put panties on a calf. We've built a memorial. We've worked fairs and horse weeks and all sorts of events. And I couldn't be prouder to just say that the 26 years we've spent here in Norco have been fantastic. And we're sorry to go, but literally greener pastures are ahead. So again, thank you for what you guys do. I know I can feel comfortable leaving Norco in such good hands. And for all the volunteers in town that I've worked alongside, I will miss their sweat equity that they've purchased through their time and dedication. But it's been a great time, and I'm not going to say goodbye. I'll simply say see you later. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff.
We have no further speakers, Mayor.
Thank you, Dana. We'll move to the consent calendar. Do any council members need to pull any items?
3C.
Okay. Anyone else? Hearing none.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Please vote. That motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we'll go to item 3C, Councilmember Bash.
I specifically want to go 4B. Can we talk a little bit about that? Discussion, concerns of lack of a minimum setback requirements for uncovered horse corrals, corral fencing from side and rear property lines in zones that allow for the keeping of large animals. Alma?
Yes, so that was a discussion that we had with the Planning Commission, and their direction was that we pursue a code amendment to reflect as such. However, that discussion has to come to the City Council, so the City Council is the one that's ultimately going to direct us to pursue a code amendment if appropriate. So it's got to come to you guys first before we embark on a code amendment.
Okay. I have concerns. It'll be used as a weapon. And, you know, like my own property, and last time I did that, I caught all hell. If you look at where my fences are on the north side, there's actually no fence on the other side, but it still goes 5 feet. And so I just have concerns about it. So I guess when it comes back to us, we'll talk about it.
Yeah,
All right,
that'll probably be on the agenda for the next meeting.
All right, with that, I make a motion to approve this section of the consent calendar.
Second?
Please vote. No, yours is good. We got it. There you go. Thank you. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Dana. Item 5, legislative matters. Does council have any questions or concerns? Hearing none, do we have any public comment?
No public comments, Mayor.
Okay, this is item 5A, excuse me. This is the second reading, Ordinance 1133. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
We have a motion and a second, Dana. Colin, you have no other verbiage on this?
No, Mr. Mayor, the title was read on first read.
Correct. Thank you.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move into our public hearings. The order of presentation for a public hearing item is staff report and presentation. Council questions of staff. We'll open and close the public hearing after public comment, and then back to council for council discussion and action. So this is item 6A. Alma, this is an appeal hearing of the Planning Commission denial of conditional use permit 2025-04.
Yes, good evening, Mayor. The presentation is going to be given by our Associate Planner, Erica.
Good evening, Erica.
Good evening, council members.
Good to
Mayor.
see you.
It's a pleasure to be here. Yes, I'll be presenting item 6A, the appeal. The request is for an appeal of the Planning Commission denial of conditional use permit 2025-04, which is to allow 18 additional animal units at 3745 Sierra Avenue. This is located in the A1-20 zone. Conditional use permit is a permit for a specific use on the lot, and for this site, it is for additional animal units. The proper way to determine how many units are allowed on a lot is based on the lot area. For this parcel, it's over over 66,000 square feet at 1.5 acres. So at 60,000 square feet in the Norco Municipal Code allows 16 animal units. Anything over 60,000 square feet an additional 4,000 square feet, you can add one additional animal unit. So 17 animal units is legal for this site. The conditional use permit request was to add an additional 18 units for a total of 35 animal units for the site. All animal units requests for conditional use, for additions of animal units, we require some type of report from Animal Services. We rely heavily on them. They're the ones that inspect the sites. This specific site did have a request to, that stated that the lot was appropriate to have the additional animal units. And that staff report or that action report is in the exhibits. This is an aerial view of the lot. You can see it's very, very large, over again 1.52 acres. This is the original project plans that was submitted for the conditional use permit. The applicant for the conditional use was trying to show that he does have enough space on the lot to provide for the additional animal units. The rear of the lot has an additional area for animal keeping. It is more than what is required by code. For the analysis on this conditional use, the public hearing was held August 13th in front of the Planning Commission. There was testimony by staff, by the applicant, and a couple public comments in regards to the site and the request. The major issues were brought up was that the property owner didn't reside on the lot. 5-foot setback requirement. They wanted to have an additional 5 feet from even the open area of the corrals from property lines. And there was a concern about if there was an emergency that occurred on the lot with the additional animal units, how was there going to be an evacuation of those animals. For the motion, there was a motion for approval. There was a split 2-2 vote, which resulted in an automatic denial. No findings were made. For a conditional use permit, you do need to meet the findings. You have to have justification for your request. You have to make sure that you do not have any adverse effects to the general plan, to the welfare of people, to any of the residing adjoining land uses, people that reside or work in the area. And you cannot have any kind of undue burden upon streets, traffic, things like that. If you can make the findings, then it would be in the positive. It would be an approval. If you can't meet any of those findings, it's a denial. The appellant is requesting that the City Council overturn the decision and approve the conditional use permit. If City Council does decide for an approval, there is an attached resolution of approval. If the City Council concurs with the Planning Commission, then a denial resolution will be brought back to City Council. And staff, if approved, staff is recommending that there be a condition added to the resolution requesting that any structures that are on the site that do not have building permits be permitted. And I do believe the appellant is here if you'd like to have any questions for him, and as well as Animal Services.
Thank you, Erica. Good job. We'll start with council's questions of staff. Councilmember Bash. Any questions?
I had to have some questions. Have there been any past code violations on the property that you're aware of?
So I looked today before I came, and I did not see code violations current on the property.
Any past violations, manure, anything like that?
Not see that.
Okay.
I'm not aware.
Right now, they're non-permitted buildings without permits?
Found two.
Okay. And then on the site plan that you have here, on original project plans, the bottom part, maybe go up there. Are those pens right on the property line? Are they using one of the fences, the fence that is the boundary fence? Is that being utilized as a? I went by there today, but I couldn't go on the property. Are they utilizing a boundary fence as the back fence of those corrals?
So if I understand the question correctly, the question is whether the corrals are backing up to the fence?
Are they actually using the fence, or is there a?
My understanding, and again, these are not there yet, my understanding is that the intent is to actually have corral fencing.
So it'll be off the property line just a
Well,
bit?
it's abutted up to the,
Okay,
to the
but it'll be a separate fence. It won't be
my
the boundary
understanding.
fence.
That's my understanding.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Fia, any questions for staff?
Yes, I didn't really get a chance to read the email response that you sent back to me today. And so one of the questions I had was because there was a discrepancy on the applicant's site plan saying that it was 107 feet, where the actual assessor's plat map is 105 feet. And I was just reading your response here in the email. Did they go and measure that it's 107 feet? And are they encroaching on somebody's property?
That the applicant did do measurements of this property when they submitted the site plan for consideration. And that's, the assessor's parcel map is not the legal meets and bounds for the property. The legal meets and bounds defaults to, I mean, if we can't find any record, which this is a very old piece of property, it defaults, it would have to default to the legal description. So that's the reality of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Greg, questions of staff?
Yeah, going back to the building permits, and are those unpermitted buildings on that map right there?
Yes.
And have you looked, how long have those been on that property? You don't have, you have that answer? Because if they've been there for over 20 years, they fall under the grandfather clause. And that's what I've been told by code enforcement, or some stuff that they have sent me. Because if they've been there for a long time, it just doesn't make sense to go ahead and hold that over the head. Oh, you have to demo it, or you have to get rid of it, or you have to permit it, because it's been there a long time. That's what I'm looking for you, is if you haven't looked at the past and how long they've been there.
Yeah, so I would have to speak with the project planner, and I'm sure he did review it. The property, the house was built in 1925, so it's very possible that these are well over 20 years old. I did want to make a correction, Mr. Bash, that there are 2 unpermitted structures that I did find, as well as an ADU that was put on the property prior to the new owner, which is the applicant. So there is, at the back of the garage, a storage area that is, prior to this applicant, used as like an ADU, and there is no permit for an ADU. The applicant does not use that as an ADU, he just uses it as a storage. So it does need, a condition does need to be put on it no matter what, because we can't have unpermitted structures.
But they're not using it as an ADU
They're
right now?
not using it, he's using it as just storage. That's
So
it.
what you're saying is, if they, just because you think they're going to, we're gonna go ahead, it's like, my terminology on that is like, we changed the speed limit on 6th Street. But we're gonna go ahead and write you a ticket for that now, because we think you're gonna break the law in the future. They're not breaking a city ordinance now. And it just doesn't make, I have a hard time wrapping my head around pointing the finger at somebody when they haven't done anything wrong yet.
Sure, sure.
But if it's been there for a long time, we don't have aerial photos of showing it has just been recently put there for the previous. In my opinion, it's grandfathered in, unless there's something wrong that's gonna be an electrical issue or whatever. We could go to every house in Norco, I guarantee you, and find something wrong. But we have to go ahead and say, what are we aiming for? That many horses, Thrifty, Boot Barn, the hay companies, people riding them, and that's what we're looking for in Norco, is to bring horses, bring our lifestyle back. And we should be, say, okay, this is what we're gonna do, we're gonna help you get this going. And I don't hear that. I hear, let's throw roadblocks out for them, and that's all I got.
Robin, any questions for staff?
I don't have any questions.
Thank you. I'll start just with one. When this was originally heard by Planning Commission, staff recommended approval.
Yes.
Your recommendation to council today is to uphold the denial.
Correct.
Why the difference?
As a standard, we usually, staff's recommendation comes from the recommendation or the action from the Planning Commission.
Okay.
So we basically support whatever it is the Planning Commission has moved forward.
Okay. That's what I kind of thought, but thank you. No other questions? I'm going to go ahead. Yeah, Rob?
So Alma, I know in the legal world, a split vote is a no, right? Because it's a tie, so it's a no. But I have a concern about saying we're gonna uphold the denial when it wasn't a no vote, it was a 2-2 or a tie or whatever. So like just for future reference, or I guess maybe a question, should staff have the ability to come back and say, hey, there was a tie, so you guys are like, the president of the Senate, you need to break the tie kind of a deal and make no recommendation instead of saying we're going to uphold the denial. So if that can be maybe looked at, or a question that staff can discuss going forward, because I sent an email with the same thing and had the same concern, because I would consider it in real terms like a no decision instead of a denial, even though I know legally it is a denial.
So that makes sense. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
Okay with that?
It is a no decision. It's no action.
Thank you. So no other questions for staff. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Dana, do we have any public comment?
Yes, Mayor, we do. First speaker is Bill Naylor.
Good evening, Bill.
Good evening, council. Not quite sure how to phrase some of this, but I'm going to do my best off the top of my head on it. I've been thinking a little bit about it today. I did speak at the Planning Commission too, with some of my thoughts on it too, but I thought better let you guys know what they were. And I'm going to go to the analysis of the Planning Commission, and it said, first of all, property owner does not live on the site. I did talk to the property owner following that Planning Commission meeting, and I did indicate that he really does need to have someone on site. When you're having that many horses, things can go wrong. And whether or not it's part of the Planning Commission's right to make that decision or not, I did not see anything in the code that would require it, but it's just good common sense to have. If you've got 30-some horses, you really want somebody around that's going to know what they're doing, and also to take care of, you know, any issues that might happen. I know I've had a neighbor that had a horse get tied up in a corral, and by the time we found it first thing in the morning next door, it was just on its last legs, and it died before we could get a vet out there, even though the trainer was not on site. But that's a concern. I don't think it's really a planning issue. I think it's a property or a stable management issue. The other thing is the 5-foot setback. As I mentioned earlier, I think there's a lot of properties in town that have horses right up on the property line. On this particular one, if you look at the pictures that are presented in the report, I see that there is a block wall along where most of those corrals are. It may not extend all the way down. You might want to ask them to extend the block wall for a solid partition between the two properties. It's a possibility as a condition, but right now, you've got a block wall, and this is already existing with these corrals right on the property line, and there has not been an issue. The evacuation of horses. How many people in Norco have horses, more horses on the property than they have horse trailers to evacuate them from? I know in my case, we've got 4 horses, and I got a 3-horse trailer. You want to make common sense decisions. The last thing is does the Planning Commission want to decide what businesses can do on a property? If you say if somebody wants to come in and get a business license to run a restaurant or whatever, but they don't have a clue as to what they're doing, do we tell them, no, you can't do that? It's their money. They're going to throw it away. It's just some thoughts I thought I'd share with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Our next speaker is Bunny Slager.
Evening, Bonnie. How are you?
Good evening.
Good.
We have set in this town that you need 24 by 24 area for each horse. And there's even been discussion maybe the area should be larger. And then now we have somebody coming in and wanting double the amount of horses that would fit on the property. And I don't get it. If we've already decided there should be so much room for each horse, then why are we saying, well, you're supposed to have so much room for each horse, but it's okay for you to have double the amount of horses that you have? And we're already very liberal in the amount of horses. What, 5 on a half acre? Your Belinda only allows 2 on a half acre. Fullerton doesn't allow any horses unless you have at least 3/4 of an acre, and then you can have 2 horses on 3/4 of an acre. So I guess where we're fighting high-density housing is this high-density horse keeping. I know that a number of stables have 12 by 12 stalls for the horses, and I've had horses at some of these stables in Capistrano, in Del Mar, Anaheim, and there were rules that you had to have the horse with a trainer that got the horse out at least 6 days a week. That horse had to be out of their stall when they were in a 12 by 12. So to have high-density horse keeping, when we already have rules on how many horses we can have, it kind of doesn't add up for me. Not that I don't want to see horses in this town, but I want to see them be well taken care of too. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no further comments, Mayor.
Okay. Then I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring this back to council for discussion and action. And would the council like to hear from the applicant at this time, if the applicant's in the audience? Good evening.
And the applicant will have 10 minutes to speak, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Before we start, I'd like to pass the new site plan proposal that I have since the last one, showing changes. 1, 2, 3.
These are changes that you've made since Planning Commission?
Since the last hearing, correct. So if you guys can take a look at it quickly, it's not much changes, but certain concerns that were brought up that I am okay with, and I have adjusted accordingly. We had some technical difficulties getting the digital copies prior to this meeting, so I apologize for that.
In your, you'll be able to address the
Correct.
changes from this plan?
Yes.
Specifically to what we're seeing on the screen?
Correct.
Okay, so why don't you just reference it off the screen that we have?
Okay, so bear with me. If I can I go through what I wanted to go ahead and present and talk about, and then at the end I can, it's included in my presentation.
Sure, go
Okay,
right ahead.
bear with me. My name is Anthony Sun, and I am the owner of Sunnyside Ranch here in Norco. I'm appealing today because I feel my case was unfortunately denied due to reasons that I still don't 100% quite understand. There were legitimate concerns brought up, and those will be addressed, but the core reasoning for the two commissioners' denial I felt was a bit confusing, for me at least, as those concerns shouldn't have affected the outcome of the additional unit of horses that I was asking for. Another thing I didn't understand was the voting. The voting actually concluded with 3 yeses and 2 nos, but 1 yes was said to not count due to the commissioner being a youth commissioner. I don't quite understand that voting process, as it gave me false hope, and the vote should have never been appointed if the vote was never to be accounted for in the final decision. Additionally, I feel Commissioner Chudowski should have maybe excused herself from the voting, as I have been told after that she or a family member of hers also own and run a boarding facility as well in the city of Norco, and that would be a conflict of interest, which I would be seen as maybe competition, and could have skewed her voting decision of her denial for my conditional use permit. I'm not saying that was the case, but to hear that afterwards, I can't help but question. I also did not know what to expect the first time, as I've never been in a process like this before. And the lack of information I provided, along with not knowing that I could not speak again, made my stance weak and didn't allow the planning commissioner to be confident in approving my conditional use permit. This time, however, I'm here to make sure I'm thorough and clear in my appeal, in hopes that you have the right information to grant me this approval. The proposed site plans that I have provided is not set in stone. They're merely to show that, the proposed site plans I have provided is not set in stone, and nothing new that is not already existing requires a permit. I'm adding pipe corral stalls and so on and so forth. In addition to, I'm so sorry. The addition stalls will be pipe corrals, and it's merely to show my vision of how Sunnyside Ranch will be, and that my property can accommodate the extra units that I'm asking for. I want to also jump into what the city's core value is before addressing the concerns brought up in the last hearing. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't Norco's core values to bring more horse people, more horse business, and to promote horse living in the best horse city in Southern California? I mean, we are Horsetown, USA, right? This is the reason I chose to put my hard-earned money and purchase a property here in Norco. This is the reason why I chose Norco to start my new business venture with horses that my daughter and I are so passionate about. I chose this city to spend all my time and effort to start this horse venture because there is no other city, in my opinion, that would support and understand the fire within me that I have for these horses and the program I am looking to build. Quite frankly, I was in shock when I received a denial for the additional horses I'm asking for, which my property, along with the support of animal control, whom I think should hold the most weight in determining factor, said it can allow for. I'm asking for a total number of 35 horses to be allowed on Sunnyside Ranch. Animal Services is in support of the number and even stated that my property could possibly allow for more, but they understand through our discussions in this whole process that I've been doing, that I'm not looking to maximize the number of horses I'm allowed on my property. But instead, I want larger stalls where the horses have more room than the ordinary minimum requirement of a 12 by 16 foot stall. 35 is the amount I am comfortable with. The boarding aspect of Sunnyside Ranch is not meant to be in competition to my neighbors that have boarding and training businesses or any other boarding business in close proximity. It is to offer existing and future clients of mine the ability to send their horses to me for training, breeding, and care that I will be providing. By law, under my business license for breeding, boarding, and training, I need to provide a safe living quarter for when horses are sent to me or residing on my property. Like any successful business, additional income must be generated to properly maintain and grow the business. Additional private or public boarding can also be available at my discretion. But again, I'm not here to compete with my neighbors or anyone else running successful boarding businesses already. It's solely for me and the vision I have to run Sunnyside Ranch and my breeding program efficiently and successfully. Moving on, I'd like to address the concerns that were brought up in the first hearing. The concern of a fire emergency evacuation due to the new expanded fire zone this year and plans of getting horses off my property were brought to my attention. This threw me off guard as I didn't realize my property was in the fire zone. After researching and going back to the Riverside County's fire zone map and also Norco's previous hearings on the fire zone matter, I realized that my property is not immediately in the red zone, which is directly behind my neighbor across the street and the 15 freeway. My property is marked as the lowest level in yellow, only following Sierra Avenue itself and a portion of the front side of my property. Nonetheless, it's too close for comfort for me. And in the rare instance where fire may reach my property, an exit strategy is something that should be accounted for regardless. I did not reassure the planning commissioner that there was a confident plan in place already, but I also do have to ask, how many other conditional use permits that were approved had a fire evacuation plan in place prior to their hearing and approval? Regardless of fire, I believe an evacuation plan should be enforced for anyone wanting to have more than 20 horses or more on the property. But that is why I felt my denial was unfair, as this is a solution that could be fixed with a condition that is normally given that one must set forth for any reason before full approval is granted, not a firm denial. And it was very awkward, to say the least, when one of the commissioners suggested that since it was a split decision, that maybe the commissioning party could discuss further, and immediately the response from both parties after was a hard no. This led me to believe that there might have been premeditated judgments already instilled prior to the hearing, especially when Animal Services was in full support. It was also brought up that because my neighbors already were granted so many units, that if I were granted, there would be that many more horses. But my neighbor's allowance for more units shouldn't have anything to do with my right to ask for additional units for my business and on my property. I am not a nuisance or a bad citizen to the city of Norco, nor have I ever been called on for mistreatment or neglecting my horses on my property. So why was I outcasted with a hard no when others were granted units? Since then, I sought for solutions. I've discussed with my friends and peers in the horse community and now have an exit strategy if there were to be an emergency evacuation situation. I have written testimonials in which you have been provided copies of prior to this hearing, showing support from experienced horsemen and women within the city of Norco and surrounding cities that would accommodate housing and hauling the horses safely off my property. I also have spoken to several other boarding facilities in surrounding nearby cities, and they all have generously stated that they would help accommodate horses in the event of an emergency, just as they did during the recent Eaton fires and fires of the past. I also created an emergency contact list posted openly on my site in several areas on my property. This is an example of what I posted. For anyone to call, including myself, my ranch hand, boarding facilities, and to help in the event of that emergency. My tenants, whom are also horse people, have also volunteered their time, services, in the event of an emergency to contact all involved. They board their horse on the property, so they are always making sure their horse and all horses on the property are safe and sound. I feel I've addressed and found solutions to this concern, and I reassure you that the safety of all horses at Sunnyside Ranch has and will remain top priority. The next concern from the other commissioner was the further care and responsibility of the additional horses if I were granted the approval. The planning commissioner mentioned she had no problem with the number of horses I'm asking for, but that she wasn't confident of the care for the additional horses with my current situation of not living on the property. I disagree with that because I know there are several boarding and training businesses in the city of Norco where it is not owner occupied, nor do their ranch hands live on the property. So I think it was unfair to deny me for that reason alone, as she said she would fully support and agree if I had lived on the property. Maybe I painted the wrong picture where the commissioner felt that there were little to no care for the horses at Sunnyside Ranch, and adding more would only allow for less care. I didn't know I wasn't allowed to speak up again after my initial turn, so hearing the commissioners review, debate, and bring up their concerns without me further clarifying before making the decision, I felt it really hurt me. Looking back, I should have been clear. I mentioned that I currently have a ranch hand and that he did not live on the property. But what I didn't mention is that he is my neighbor across the street. And that he doesn't only help me feed the horses before my arrival through the evenings and keep things in order at Sunnyside Ranch, but he also boards his horse on the property, so he's there throughout the day checking on his horse along with making sure all other horses there are well. I also didn't make it clear that Sunnyside Ranch is my 9 to 5. And even on some weekends, and that the horse's well-being is my job and my business. I never got to share my plans for additional hirees and help if I were granted the additional horses. So I'd like to state that now, that in consideration for the additional horses, if granted, I have 2 employees
That
on
was 10
standby.
minutes, Mayor.
I have 2 employees on standby ready to hire to take care of additional cleaning, feeding, and maintenance on Sunnyside Ranch, with one being able to remain on the property throughout the day alongside myself to turn out, groom, bathe, and care for the horses. The goal always at Sunnyside Ranch is to provide a warm and welcoming atmosphere where horses thrive and the pride of my breeding program is in place. Lastly, the most important concern for me from the hearing was that of my neighbor Cassandra. She owns and operates Leaps and Bounds, a fantastic business and operation that helps youth with disabilities and boards and does training as well. I was fortunate to be able to finally meet Cassandra at the last hearing where she addressed her concerns for manure and also 5-foot setbacks that she wanted implemented in my proposed site plan. Cassandra and I met on my property a few days after, and I told her that her concerns were very important to me. And we discussed and found resolutions that we both agreed, and she gave me some great advice and suggestions for when I'm ready to improve my property. I agreed to the 5-foot setback all around my property as we discussed the health and safety of the horses when dealing with manure and possible cross-contamination of sick horses that can majorly hurt both our businesses, and also the safety of people on both our properties that may want to casually pet the horses they see. Safety and limiting liability for both our businesses is a must, and there's no arguing around that. So Cassandra and I are on the same page. I also agreed to relocate the manure area to the other side, as you can see in the new proposed site plan. Cassandra has voiced that she has no issues with the number of horses I am asking for and would like to see my property improved as well, but that the 5-foot setback and manure area be addressed, and I told her I have no problem with doing so, and I have adjusted accordingly. So in conclusion, with the support of my neighbors, peers, along with animal services, and having addressed concerns with clear solutions, I kindly ask and sincerely ask the mayor and city council that my appeal be highly considered. The number of horses asked was never the issue. The concerns and well-being of the additional horses were. I hope I have given them enough information this time for the council to decide confidently, and I hope for a positive outcome to be able to grow my business, Sunnyside Ranch, to where I've always dreamed it to be. Thank you for your time. And additionally, I wanted to state that I love the city of Norco. All my business for my horses are within the city of Norco. I buy my hay from Tony's Hay. I deal with Linda's Feed and Hay Connection for all my supplies and everything else. And I would like my business to thrive in this city that I chose. Thank you.
Thank you. Do council members have questions for the applicant? Kevin, you want to start?
Yeah, I have some other questions. This large animal keeping area, is that an area that'll be like a turnout, or will it be a place where you keep horses, multiple horses?
Well, I plan for that area to work the horses almost like an arena area as well.
Okay, so I'm a little confused. So you're not a boarding stable, you're a breeding stable?
I am a breeding, stable, boarding, and training center.
Okay, so back to my original question. I own a boarding stable, so
Yeah, I mean, if you think that there's an issue that this
I
project
don't,
might have a-
his pens are too small, so, I mean, no offense. But mine's a little bit different situation.
the question is it reasonably foreseeable that your decision will have a material financial impact on your business? If you think that's an issue, then we need to disqualify.
I don't know, I don't think so. There's room for everybody.
I'm sorry, council member, you said you think my pens are too small?
No, they're smaller than mine.
Oh, okay,
That-
okay.
I was
They're
just-
originally supposed to be 16 by 24s, but because I'm
Yeah,
respecting the
mine,
5-foot setbacks.
let me clarify, I cater to layups.
Oh,
So it's a different, kind of a different animal. But
Okay.
no, they're nice and large.
okay, thank you.
I don't know, you did raise a couple of issues, and I'm still thinking about if I'm gonna be able to vote on this or not. When I established my stable in April of 1995, I mean, I've spent years doing horses. I was required to have a fire hydrant, and I was required to have an exit plan. And so those are things I still have posted on several walls on the different places. So I don't think that's, I mean, I was required to have a fire hydrant, and that's kind of a big deal. Where is the fire hydrant in relationship to your property?
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's next to, so there's a church next to
Do
my
we still,
property.
do we still do that, Alma? Do we still have fire hydrants and things? Because it's going to be a lot of horses in that particular area between the
Mr.
three
Mayor,
properties.
Can we take a 5-minute break?
Okay, all right.
Okay,
We have to decide something.
we'll go ahead, reconvene at 8:10, 8:09.
So as a
because our businesses are too similar, and so I have to leave the room. The only request that I've made is we have to clarify grandfathering, which I asked the city attorney if he would do that. Otherwise, but we can do that at a later date. So I'm going to go.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and reconvene the meeting. Colin, do you need to make any statement?
Would you like to know about grandfathering?
Pardon?
So, just a general legal statement, grandfathering, we talked about being grandfathered in, it's a use is lawful on the day that it was built, a use or a structure or whatever, was lawful on the day that it was built. Then the city changed the law. Then that use doesn't just become unlawful. It's a lawful, non-conforming use that stays a lawful, non-conforming use until it's changed. So that's what grandfathering is.
Right.
Just a point of legal clarification.
Okay. So the reason for Councilmember Bash's stepping down?
His business was too similar, so he felt that he wanted to err on the side of caution. I think that's a good idea. The regulations are complex, and we don't have time right tonight, after we hear the true nature of the business, to go through that analysis in a solid and safe way. So to err on the side of caution, it's belt and suspenders, and to make sure he's transparent, following the law, and showing everybody that he's sensitive to the conflict rules, he's decided to conflict out.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Fia. Questions for the applicant?
I do. I was counting, there's 22 stalls, including box stalls. I'm not considering the paddock area, but did I count that right? Because now that the manure bin is on the south side, it took one of the areas,
Yeah,
right?
like I said, so the proposed site plan is not final. That was just to give you guys an idea of the large 8 paddocks that exist on my property and how I would like to maneuver things around to be able to support the 35. You're absolutely right. There's 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and I was planning on having group boarding in the paddocks. So I removed an area in front where the paddocks is to my current layout of what I have, only because I don't back up trailers too well, so I wanted to go in and turn and have it turn around. But like I said, this isn't the final plan, and you know, things can still be adjusted here and there, but I just wanted to give a visual of how I foresee Sunnyside Ranch to be in an organized and still enough area for these animals to be able to work and exercise and train.
Okay, thank you.
That's it. Greg, any questions for the applicant?
Yeah. Going back on who's going to live in the house, you're saying nobody's going to live in the house.
No, I currently have tenants at the property, and it's a good thing because I forget your name, but she had mentioned that somebody, or I think it was you that mentioned. So the back ADU that Erica had brought up, I have been talking to the building department to get that garage and the backside turned into an ADU, because eventually I do want an on-site ranch hand living on the property. As of right now, for what I'm allowed and the horses there, everything is running efficiently, sufficiently with myself being there. But if I am to be given this additional units of horses that I want, I do want a ranch hand on the property. So I appreciate you mentioning the grandfathering in, because that property on the aerial shot has been there over 20 years. But I do have plans on creating.
Well, you have to go back to what Colin said. If it was built in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s.
Yeah.
And it may not needed a permit back then because you could build whatever you want.
Yeah.
But if it was built, and you'd have to go look at the satellite to find out
Correct.
how far back that it actually was put into effect.
Correct.
Or how long it's been an ADU.
Correct.
Or living quarters. Then it would fall into what Colin said, because then you'd have to get permitted, and it wouldn't fall into those guidelines.
Yeah, and I plan for that because I do want it to be upgraded, even though it was probably lived in at one point.
That would be wise to,
Yeah.
to get it as.
Yeah,
For somebody,
exactly.
because for that many horses, you need somebody there 24/7.
Exactly.
And that's a good plan. And it would be a great plan, to, like Kevin was saying, is to have, a fire exit plan. That would just be good business on your part.
Yeah, well, which
I
do
was
now,
listening to
yeah.
your talk, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think that's a must as well, and I
Yeah.
personally feel anyone with 20 horses or more should have an evacuation plan, fire or not.
yeah. But as far as the people in the front house,
Correct,
if something goes wrong, they're gonna be able to tell you what's going on in the back.
correct.
And
yeah.
then the guy across, we can't count on, if they're living there, but if the guy across the street, he boards his horse there, he does whatever, I couldn't rely on him.
Right, to be there 24/7 or so on
Right.
and so forth, or in the evening hours.
And nobody's gonna be there 24/7, because they're gonna go for groceries or whatever. It's just this terminology that I wanna throw out
Correct.
there.
My tenants are actually here supporting as well.
But I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
And by looking at what you've got, the new setbacks, it's fine.
Okay.
And it'd be great for down the, like, what Bill said is to continue I think it was Bill, to continue the block wall through, or
Correct.
that was Bonnie. Everybody that got up and talked has horses. I have horses. Kevin has horses. We all have horses.
Right.
And that's what we're promoting in Norco,
Yeah.
is exactly what you're promoting.
Well,
And
thank you.
I really hope that we can get this worked out for you.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Robin, any questions for the applicant? No questions. Thanks. I got a couple.
Yes, Mayor.
So we'll start off, I'm just curious, it's not a land use question. You said you're going to operate a breeding, a boarding, and a training facility.
Correct.
What's your plan on that as far as, let's say, the breeding?
Correct.
What do you plan to breed? Are you bringing in like outside stallions? Are you standing stallions?
I
And then
currently-
what's your business plan? Just
So,
curious.
I am currently, so the breeding side of the business, I am trying to create my own lineage in the Arabian horse world. I deal with quarter horses, and I'm still trying to figure out exactly which direction of horses I want to be with, because this is a father-daughter thing. So in the initial hearing, all this came to fruition because I'm supporting my daughter in a God-given, she's loved horses since she was born. She started riding at 5.5, and now she's 10 years old. So I have a breeding background. I come from the dog world and of 26 years. So right now I want to create a horse in my vision and my daughter's vision for her to be competitive enough in. But we're still trying to find the discipline that she wants to go to. But I chose, to enter the breeding world, but still be able to board for clients and so on and so forth, and be able to train horses to be able to show them.
Okay, so, like I said, more curious on that as far as the breeding. You don't have a set direction yet on that. So this is
No,
something.
it's still ongoing.
Sure,
It's still
okay.
ongoing, yeah. So nothing is set. The breeds, her discipline, whichever direction she
Sure.
goes
Oh,
with,
and that's
sport,
always changes.
dressage.
I
Yeah, exactly.
understand that.
Yeah.
And then you'll do straight boarding also?
Yeah, I'm open to it under my discretion and stuff. Right
Okay.
now, I want to, like I said, I'm not trying to compete with anybody else.
Okay.
Obviously, I need to generate income for the business to sustain the business.
All right. Do you sublet out any of your stalls to any other boarding facilities?
I am open to it, and I have in the past when my neighbor needed when she was applying for her conditional use permit, she had asked me to go ahead and, use my facility. So I dealt with her with that, sublet it out, and yeah.
So do you do presently?
Presently, I do have one horse that I do sublet out.
Okay, to
Correct.
another boarding facility?
Yeah, it was just, it's just an overflow. And then the other ones are my tenants and my ranch hand, and the rest are mine.
And then on the training portion, are you,
Have not started because I
Okay.
don't have an area I feel confident in working
All
my
right.
horses outside of the hot walker and
Okay.
the turnouts right now.
so then I have a question on, of course, on your revised plan, you show a contained area for manure management. And during the Planning Commission hearings, that was one of the items that you were cited for, either
Correct.
by animal control or code enforcement
Correct.
for lack of manure management.
So to explain that, I don't know how much of the hearing you did. I dealt with, when I first purchased the property, I had a tenant in there that ended up becoming a squatter. So I dealt with a lot of legal things. He was heinous on blocking the entrance to my property. So manure was built up for almost 4 months. So by the time he was evicted and I was able to remove the manure, everything came out. And that's what Cassandra from Leaps and Bounds was. She actually called Animal Services, but she mentioned to me that at the last hearing, she didn't know I was dealing with a squatter and that she did try to reach out. Unfortunately, the gentleman ignored everything, so she had to deal with the manure issue. But she said, I know you took care of everything, everything's been fine, but that was the issue that I was cited. And I actually wanted Animal Services to cite me, and I actually went to the city for code enforcement to see if they can cite me so that I can get his truck towed out. But again, that was civil legal matters that I
Sure.
overcame, this time around.
Okay.
Yeah.
So kind of where I'm getting to on this is, I know it was brought up, is that there isn't somebody there all the time, okay? And that, yeah, your neighbor helps out, this person helps out, whatever. But, for a boarding facility,
I'm sorry to cut you off, Mayor. I am there. This is my 9 to 5. I do run this as my business.
so you're
I
there
don't
7
just,
days a week?
not 7 days. Sundays I hold for church and my family
Sure,
at home.
okay, 6
Yeah.
days a week.
Yeah.
So
So I'm there 9 to 5. Ray, my ranch hand, starts feeding around 7 in the morning, and he doesn't leave my facility until about 5:30 in the afternoon. My tenants are there, they board there, so they are the remainder of, they're remaining. And I think this was the issue that the other commissioner had a problem with, where she thought nobody's on the property. If, God forbid, something happened to the animals, what would happen? And
Sure,
Yeah.
I understand that concern.
Okay.
What I wanted to go back to on this was with the manure management.
Correct.
So when this came up at planning, I went by the property, just, where is it, that type of thing.
Correct.
And when this first came on our agenda, so I've gone by a couple of times.
Okay.
And I'm curious, I want to ask you this question.
Correct.
On the manure management, why is your manure bin from Waste Management sitting in the public right-of-way all the time and not being picked up and moved back on site, that you're taking your manure from your property and taking it out onto the street and dumping it into the bin that's in the public right-of-way?
So it's purposely left out there because I've been in touch with Waste Management. Prior to the city of Norco handling Waste Management now took over, I believe it was last year in July. So they were charging me a scout fee, additional scout fee, and where the manure bin was right, so there's a fence line on Sierra Avenue. My bin was right behind there, and what they had done was just come in and move it around. So I asked Waste Management, because my neighbors and I see other bins on Sierra Avenue, if I can just put that out on the outside and haul the manure out instead of being charged an additional $40 or something scout fee, which I just thought was pointless. I understand if the manure was further back on my property, they're doing a service for me to make it easier. So that's why the bin is out there now. Now, if I am allowed the additional units and the manure bin is in the back, I will still seek Waste Management until more horses eventually is on my property. But I may also seek other alternatives for removing waste on my property as well.
And what would those, we're going to come back to this, but what are the other alternatives that
What-
you seek?
Well, there were suggestions brought up to me since the last hearing, and those are to buy a larger bin and have outside services come in to take it out, or negotiate with Waste Management for 4 or 5 times a week, depending on how much manure is hauled out. But again, I haven't set anything in stone. These are just opinions that other people in
Well,
Norco.
I'll give you some direction,
Okay.
however this shakes out. You have
Okay.
2 choices,
Okay.
One is that you can make application to self-haul.
Okay.
And you would talk to Public Works about that.
Okay.
And if you were then going to stockpile your manure, there is basically there's a standard, a concrete structure that you'd create for your manure.
Okay.
But I don't want to be misunderstood that I believe your comments about Waste Management saying it's okay for your bin to be out in the public right-of-way. I'm not buying it. That's not the case. Planning would have picked that up as a code violation. You are not allowed to do that. When Waste Management picks up the bins, whether it's on Mondays or how many times during the week, they haul it off the property, put it on the street, and return it back on site the same day, typically. Some days it's the following day, but.
I don't know why that outcome was, but that is what they determined, and that's why they still
Do you think
pick up
that
there.
could be that nobody lives there and your gate is always closed and they don't have access to it when they come to show up?
No, the gate's always left open in the front. They have full access to get the bin.
Okay.
Yeah, that was never an issue before.
Okay. I think that's all I have right now. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We may call you back up. Okay. You want to start with any discussion? We have council discussion and action. Fia? Robin? Greg?
If it's something that's holding up a no vote, we need to, some way we can figure out, because he is, get the 5-foot setbacks on the new plan. He's willing to work with us, and now's the time. And I think that this brings more people in from out of town to our city. And I like the layout on it. And the more horses he gets there, he's gonna have to, and he's gonna work like he said he's doing. But he's not violating, there's no ADU yet, but he was gonna get a permit to do it. And that's one of the things on a conditional use permit, we have the ability to go in and check and see if he is not obeying by it. And if he is having somebody live in something that's not permitted yet, then we can address that. But as far as what he has right now, it's very well thought out. And we could pick it apart all day long. And the bin issue, I see bins all over Norco that they're sitting out in the right of way and they shouldn't be there. I think $40 is not something that you should squabble about. You should pay the scout fee to go in. I do. I think, pardon?
There is no scout fee.
Oh, there's no scout fee now. Yes. So I think I'd like to vote to have it go forth. I'm not exactly sure is it up to us to vote on whether he gets it or not? Or is it something that
Yes.
we're sending it back to planning? We're not sending it back, we're gonna vote to yes or no on it. Okay. Thank you.
Robin?
So I have a couple of, I guess, comments or concerns that have been raised that I'd like to address. When we talk about the different lot sizes that were in the staff report and all of that, whether it was 105 by 630 or 105 by 628 or 107 by 628 or 1.52 acres, the square footage on that varies from 66,150 up to, at the highest, 67,410. Regardless of what the square footage is, the animal allotment is still 17. So with the differences and variations in the staff report, it's a straight 17. So the lot size differences in the staff report and on the county and all of that is irrelevant to this particular discussion. It was brought up that horses need a 24 by 24 space, just, you know, in general. If we take the 66,211 square feet, which is towards the lower end, the lot coverage that's listed on the current site plan is 8,517 square feet. Let's just say we take it up to 20,000. That leaves you 46,211 square feet. If you do the 24 by 24, that's 576. You can have up to 80 horses on the property by square footage math alone. So, and that's taking 20,000 square feet off. There were questions about storage of hay. The current hay storage area that is on the premises is 20 by 28 at 18 feet high. If you do the math on the size of a bale of hay and the cubic feet of that particular building, which should be around 10,000 cubic feet, you're looking at approximately 900 bales of hay that could be stored on the premises. When you look at the findings, I personally cannot make any findings for denial. My frustration with this whole thing has been multiple-fold. Number one, that the staff recommendation was to uphold the denial. That's a frustration for me. We say we're Horsetown, USA, and I feel like in this particular instance that we haven't modeled that behavior. And we have not supported the fact that we're Horsetown, USA. I'm trying to understand why that would be the case, if it's the original hearing and maybe some personalities or differences of opinion. But just on the math and the findings, like our legal guidelines that we should be going by, it should have been a yes pretty clearly from just the legal ramifications. I understand that there could be concerns about manure, there can be concerns about emergency evacuations and that kind of stuff. And if we want to go back and put those rules in place, I don't have a problem going through the legal process and putting those in place. What I have a problem with that seems to be happening a little bit more lately is we want to put rules and conditions in place like after the fact or when it suits us. When there's a process in place to just, if those are the rules you want, then put the rules in the book and then we'll all just play by the rules. This whole trying to do stuff after the fact is kind of getting frustrating to me. So that's kind of the lens that I'm looking at through this. So I do not see a reason to uphold what the Planning Commission has decided. And I do believe that this should be approved, and that as Norco and Horsetown, USA, this should have been supported from the beginning. And if there were concerns from Planning Commission about manure or evacuation, that those could have very easily been put in the conditions because it is discretionary to do a conditional use permit. So that's all I have.
Okay. Erica, if you would go to the current conditions of approval, which was the one that was suggested to be added to? This was, I think, on the ADU, the permitting to bring it up to current codes.
It would need to be added as a.
This is what I'm asking you to do, is to add this to conditions,
Right.
okay? And the applicant would agree to that condition? Okay. You know, where the one condition is proactive and fly control, this is one of my concerns. I mean, being that it's the Norco bird, you know, I don't know, I think this, what was planning's thought on that as far as just having the manure picked up once a day, twice a day, stagnant water, or do we have any policy other than 6.60, I guess, right, on our municipal code?
Yeah, the self-haul permit.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. So then, were there any other conditions that you think should be added other than that one? No?
Mr. Mayor, can I just
Yeah, go ahead,
read the
Robin.
conditions real quick?
Sure.
So folks in the audience know kind of what the conditions are. Let's see.
All 15?
Yeah, if
I'm
you
sure
don't-
we're
I'll
now
make-
16.
Yeah, I'll
right?
make it very quick. So the approval is based on the exhibit in the report, and the operation has to occur as shown unless otherwise noted. The recorded owner of the property has to submit to the planning department for record purposes written evidence of agreement with all of the conditions of approval before the permit's effective. The project has to be in compliance with all municipal codes, ordinance, and resolutions. Any non-compliance with any of the provisions not specifically waived shall constitute cause for beginning immediate and automatic revocation or termination of the approval. Areas where animals are kept have to be maintained in a clean and sanitary condition. City staff shall have the right upon request to enter the property at any time for inspection. The privileges granted shall be for 5 years from the effective date, after which a modification shall be filed and fees paid to review conditions or modify. Animal waste must be removed from the property completely, no more than 35 animal units. It is hereby established that it shall be grounds for revocation of this permit if the permittee, their agent or employees, or any other person who is in managerial authority of the business has violated any rule, regulation, or condition adopted by the Planning Commission, or conducted the operation in any manner contrary to the peace, health, safety, and general welfare of the public. Any future modification of the operation has to be reviewed and approved by the Planning Division. And then for Norco animal control conditions, the property shall be proactive in fly control. Again, that's Norco Municipal Code 6.60.010. And if you didn't know, there's a whole chapter in the municipal code about controlling flies. You should read up on it. Number 11, all animals must be provided all necessities and follow the language of Penal Code 597, along with other federal animal laws and code, Norco Municipal Code. The property shall not exceed the legal limit on animal units. Owners must comply with property inspections and pay annual inspection fees. The property must maintain manure services and containers/carts per Chapter 6.45. Recommend initial daily cleaning be done in the morning, and they must maintain a city business license related to their business.
Thank you. Fia, anything?
Weren't there additional things that Erica mentioned? in the-
It was just permitting the non-permitted buildings.
I thought there were some 4, so it was just the one.
Okay, any other discussion? So here's where I'm at with this, that I think all of us up here we certainly support animal keeping and certainly understand core values. It's that this property, to me, I mean, you're allowed 17 horses. And it's not taking away that core value. What concerns me, and I did some investigation on some other, and they're all different, all lots are different sizes, but different boarding, training facilities that are larger properties, that they max that out with their training facilities in the 17, 18, 20 horses with, like I said, with larger areas. And I'm just having difficult agreeing with the finding C that the size and shape is adequate for the proposed, this proposed use. At times, like Bonnie had mentioned, like 24 by 24s, okay, 17, 18 horses. To double that amount, to me, it's just like you're packing them in, and you may not think so. I do. I think the way this operation is run currently, the way it's proposed, 35 horses on that property is, I think it's just too great of a magnitude.
So
Just
can
to
you
have it- I
explain
mean,
it to me
I'm sorry.
mathematically then, when you do the 24 by 24 and then you, like, it says right there, the like lot coverage is 8,517. So I went all the way up to 20,000. So that takes it down to 46,000 square feet approximately. So mathematically speaking, even with 24 by 24, you can have up to 80 horses on that area. So that's going to be number one. And then number two, animal control did a site visit and said that the property could fit that many. So,
And by your numbers, sure, okay? I mean, but to double that amount, I mean, and just, I mean, you count those stalls, you got 18 of them there, right? And so we're just gonna put another 18 just in open paddock areas. I mean, to me, it's not indicative of what's being proposed as a professional breeding, boarding, or training facility, to have just horses out in a paddock area. That's the trouble I'm having with finding number C, that this proposed use, this lot, is not adequate,
Can I
although
say,
the numbers may work.
can I say something?
Certainly may.
You could go to Stacy Turner's. You could go to all these other boarding
I
stables.
have,
And we all have.
right.
And what they have is pretty much, you look at some of the smaller stalls that they have at different boarding stables, he's right there with everybody else. And I go to Judy Bonham's. Hers are the ones she has inside of her barns are smaller than that. So if we're gonna condemn this, then we need to start going around Norco and condemning the rest. Not saying that's what we should do, but if those are okay, this should be okay. And as far as somebody living there, the people in the front house, if I gathered correctly, have horses there. So you're gonna have somebody that's gonna be there and gonna be watching their horses at the same time can watch the other people's horses. So you get a signed agreement from them to keep an eye on that, because they're gonna be there 24/7. Nobody's there 24/7.
Now, how would you enforce that, Greg? Sorry to interrupt. You want to add that as a condition of approval then?
Yeah,
That he has to have signed agreements from his renters and his caretakers that they'll be there 24 hours a day?
not 24 hours a day, because nobody's at their house.
Okay, how would you want that worded? And then have it added as a condition of approval then?
Yeah, I would say that while they're there at their house, like all of us, we all leave to go to work, and our horses are by ourselves,
Right.
by themselves. And I know adding more horses, you're just adding more chances of a horse getting hurt. Having an agreement with the people that live up front, that while they're there, they will watch the horses. And until you get, because knowing, to get that ADU approved may take you 2 years. So meanwhile, what's the plan you're gonna have meanwhile? And you should have somebody on site.
And I agree with you.
Yeah.
My tenants are here, and I would discuss that with them.
But I just I wanna see some way of us approving this, because this fits what I think Norco should be like. Yeah, the stalls are gonna be different, and animal control, they're very good about coming on and saying, and as far as amount of manure, they'll tell you that you need to start moving your manure out. And they'll even recommend how many times with the amount of horses they're more in tune to that than we are. And everything that Greg has said has legitimate, but like what Robin said, we're Monday morning quarterbacking this, and I don't want to jinx you of not getting it approved. You're gonna get more people to board if your facilities is clean anyways. But animal control can still go out there and say, hey, look, your permit's gonna be canceled if you don't clean up. So just FYI on that.
And I want to provide the larger stalls. I don't want to meet the minimum. I could
Yeah.
have drawn that where it's the regular 12 by 16s and could fit maybe 30 across.
Yeah.
Or so on and so forth. But I personally want larger stalls, so my horses can be more.
So I'm going to go back to the math thing again, trying to take, again, what is written in our code and in the reports and all of the things to try and make a decision that's as unbiased as possible. And again, I'm going to go back to, if these aren't the rules and the regulations that we want to go by, then they need to be changed. But I've heard public comment, 24 by 24. You have set up here 24 by 24. So paddock 1 can fit 3 horses. Paddock 2 can fit 3 horses. Paddock 3 can fit 2 horses. The open animal keeping area in the back, 18. That's in addition to the stalls that are there. Is that ideal? I don't know, but I want you to explain to me, because you're very numbers and by the book, so I want you to explain to me why this one is not.
Know what you're saying about the numbers, okay? But you're including where he's showing is the animal keeping area.
Correct.
And you're using that number, but in their business proposal and their plan, that is an arena, and they also have a viewing stand. And where are you gonna do your training? I mean, it's shown as, I guess this is what I'm saying, it's shown as an arena. The arena is where you're gonna do your training. You have a viewing area there. But you're also gonna keep all these horses out there? If I want to ride in that arena, where's X amount of horses going to be kept out of that arena? If I have boarders that want to ride.
I get it.
I get it too. That's why I'm
Well, so
having
that is your
difficulty.
reason, just because they're saying there's gonna be an arena and there's not room with the proposed area. I just feel like things can be moved around. He said that this is his, not locked in. The likelihood of, again, it can be up to 35, so we should plan that there would be 35 on the site. And I did not do the math to see what the area is where it is in between the paddocks and the box stalls, if there's an area that could be set up there, but
But how many units were you allowing for in that 10,000?
18,
18. Okay.
and it's 18
So you're
point
maxing
something.
that out. And I guess that's the point I'm making, just realistically with a program.
No, I get it, but just
Yeah.
if we're doing it by square footage and the paddocks and the animal keeping area, again, I get it, not ideal. And the stalls, you have 18 stalls along the side, and then you have 19, 20, 21, 22, 23
Right.
box
That's-
stalls.
that's
And then
the count I
the
have.
24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, not counting the room for the 18. So if he just used the paddocks, the box stalls, and the stalls that are there, that gets you to 31. Not using the open animal keeping area. And I guess for me, could he go over? Could this happen? Could that happen? Yes, but that's why we have right to annual inspection. That's why we have the conditions that are there, and we have access to the property. And we say in the conditions, that's why I went over them, if you violate, we revoke. Like, the safeguards are in place should poor management decisions be made. And we know in this town, people will let us know when there's violations. Like, we don't have to go do inspections.
Well, and then
That's just my argument.
yeah, no, I see where you're coming from. You know, I don't want to hammer on this, but I don't believe you're being truthful to the council in regard to the manure and your comments about the bin on the street, okay? And I think all I'd like to say about that is you understand what the condition of approval is. I think it's been explained to you that you can't keep your bin out on the street, and you can't have your caretakers, whoever, dumping the manure in the right-of-way and then shoveling it into the bin. You're going to have to be able to keep your gates open and allow that driver to have access whatever days you have it picked up. And, pardon? Yeah, and I know you won't have a problem with that, but I'm not going to buy that, what you're saying about you'll revert back to how it was. You have to keep access for the manure to be picked up. If your gate's closed all the time because nobody's there, then you have another issue. Now, do I take you as at your word and as these conditions of approval that you'll do that? I'm going to trust that you do. And I hope next week if I drive by there, that bin is not leaning up against an electrical pole in our right-of-way with a pile of manure in front of it, as it has for months. Okay? Robin?
So
Anything else? Nope.
So I am going to make a motion to approve conditional use permit 2025-04.
With the added provision about the permitting.
With condition 16 added, please.
I second it.
Give that to me again. So you want to approve the conditional use permit and not uphold the planning commission denial? Okay. You have that that way?
Yes, I have approved conditional use permit 2025-04 with added condition 16. Please vote. And the motion carried with Councilmember Sullivan voting no and Councilmember Bash had abstained and left the dais.
Thank you for your time. I would suggest that you get with the planning department. Okay?
And move your trash bin tomorrow.
Okay, Kevin? Good? All right. Let's move to item 6B. This is the first reading ordinance 1134. Alma.
Yes, Mayor, we have our building official this evening that will be doing the presentation.
Is it on? Yeah. Good evening, Mayor and City Council.
Evening.
I'm going to be going over the 2025 Building Code adoption cycle. So just to briefly discuss the code adoption process, the building standard codes are laws governing the construction of residential and commercial buildings and structures. Every 3 years, the code cycles are updated by the state agencies. The California Building Standards Commission is responsible for the administration and implementation of each code cycle. Local jurisdictions like Norco may amend the codes to address local issues based only on geologic, topographic, climatic, or environmental conditions. Amendments are allowed to be more restrictive and not less restrictive. Administrative standards do not require justification. Public hearing required at City Council meeting to consider the amendments, and that's what we're doing now, as well as a second reading. The adopted codes become effective for January 1st, 2026. And all projects submitted prior to the effective date are subject to the previously approved codes and after the new codes. So this is a list of the building codes that are adopted. I've made 4 of them bold here on sort of the significant changes. For the building codes, some of the seismic loads were updated throughout the whole state. Some got higher, some got lower. The California Residential Code, based on Assembly Bill 306, the governor passed, the residential codes are locked in for 6 years, not 3 years this time, to help developers without changing codes all the time. Part 6, the energy code, is as California continues to move towards net zero and electrification, there are some changes there as well for EV charging. And then Part 7 is a new section that was added, which is the WUI. It's the Wildland Urban Interface Code. And these amendments are still yet to come from CAL FIRE and Riverside County Fire Department. I think we may have received them, was it today, Alma, or yesterday?
Yes, they should be on council. I believe it's the first meeting in October.
Okay, cool. So our recommendation is to adopt the ordinance 1134 for the first reading to approve the code amendments of the 2025 Title 15 Buildings and Construction for the Norco Municipal Code. And then the follow-up actions are the building official, myself, will submit the local amendments to the Building Standards Commission. and we would set a public hearing for October 15th, 2025 for the second reading and final adoption of the ordinance. Our technical staff will receive training on the new codes, and amendments will go into effect on the effective day of January 1st, 2026. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you. Does council have any questions for staff?
Yeah, if you, in the future, if you guys could set up a time, I'd like to come in and go over them, because I'm not previous to all the new stuff that comes out, like being brought up to speed on it, if that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I've been in construction pretty much my whole life, and every 3 to 6 years, they always change them, and it's really hard to get caught, you know, and it'd be kind of cool to get it from the horse's mouth, so.
I'll give you my business card at the end of this, and we
Thank
can
you.
go over it, yeah.
That's all I got. I mean, it's something that has to be,
Yeah,
yeah, all right, thank
no
you.
problem, yeah.
Robin? Okay. I have one.
Yeah.
And I just love reading this stuff. On page 2, and that would be, it's item E, it's just a clarification on this, where we're talking about structures built of wood, type 5 construction, and then you have a statement in here that says many existing, this is Norco particular, many existing structures also have wood shake roofs. Can we strike that statement if we have, we got rid of shake roofs, I don't know, when we went to Class A 20, 25 years ago. The only one that I'm aware of is at Market and Hamner by Bank of America. The little front porch is, that building that's been there forever has wood shakes.
Yes,
And I just
happy to, yeah.
didn't
happy to
think we
strike
needed
it.
to have that in there.
All right.
And, but fire's not here, is, why didn't we include fire code with this code? And be honest,
They weren't ready,
okay?
yeah. Yeah, they're, yeah, I mean, Alma, can you expand a little
No,
further?
you
maybe?
can, you're the
Yeah.
guy.
They just weren't ready, yeah. They
All right.
told us that they're doing this for a lot of jurisdictions, and they weren't quite prepared.
Okay. Is that timing of, is that gonna affect us? I know that we have to get this approved and move forward.
No, it won't affect the amendments that we made here, because
Okay.
I need to get the residential code to the Building Standard Commission by September 30th.
All right.
That's why we're here now.
Okay.
As long as we're not making any changes to the residential portion of that, it's okay that fire's a little late on it.
Okay. All right. I didn't know if we needed to put any pressure on that. That's all that I have for questions. This is a public hearing, so I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Do we have any comments?
No public comment, Mayor.
Thank you. Close the public hearing, bring this back to council for discussion. And Kevin? Via? Oh, that's nothing. It's, Robin? Greg?
Just one more. Since July 1st, Southern California Edison has made, putting the panels and stuff. So when we talk, because I know that that has completely changed. Used to be you have to do a whole new calc and everything on replacing your panel. Now, is that something that's going to be set in stone the way they have it now? Because July 1st, it has changed. So now you have to do a calculation. You just don't change the panel out like you do before.
I mean, yeah, for SoCal Edison's requirements, that's a separate
I
requirement.
know we don't
for
have no
release.
control over
Yeah,
those guys. but
Right.
I just, when we talk, I'd like to find out a little bit more, because I've been dealing with one, and it's a nightmare. I mean, dealing with Edison. So,
Yeah, you're not the first person that's said
Yeah.
that, so, yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? And Greg, I'll comment to you that every time there's a seismic event, the code changes, and we add 2 more anchor bolts, right?
Correct.
Every time. So I'll entertain a motion to approve and do the first reading of ordinance 1134.
Second.
Please vote.
Mr. Mayor, I'll read the title real quick if that's okay,
You want to read it before we vote?
please. This is
Go right ahead.
For 1134, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Norco, California, adopting the 2025 California Building Standards Codes to amend Norco Municipal Code Title 15, Buildings and Construction, Code Amendment 2025-05.
Thank you, Colin. Good report. I know
Thank you.
that's a
And
lot
motion
of stuff
passes.
in there.
Took a lot of time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving right along. City council, staff, communications. Dana. Erica. You did good. I know you don't like it. Sam? I have a question for you. 4th Street, our friends at Edison, where are we timeline with the street work from Valley View to Sierra, relocation of the Edison poles? Other than we're 2 years behind with them. Okay. Is there any update, any movement?
No, they're actually a big mess. They're reorganizing their own staff, and yes.
So,
So what I've heard is that projects are being handed off to people that don't exist.
right. So like projects.
Yeah, the way Edison works is if you have a planners move all the time, right?
Right,
So
right.
if you have a planner that starts a project and then a year later gets transferred somewhere else, that project is still under their umbrella, but they really have no responsibility majorly, right? And so they basically give it to somebody. So one project in particular had been given to somebody else, and then they left for 4 months and never been back. So that project never got transferred to somebody else, so it sat there for 4 months with nobody touching it.
Well,
And
I know-
then,
yeah.
after a certain amount of time, they go, oh, well, let's go back and start the process again. So it's frustrating, to say the least.
Let's hope that happens in the riverbed.
Well, we burned up a year before they realized they lost the project. So could you give council, city manager, an update on your last conversation with them and what projection you, best guess on that?
I mean, every year. I mean, even their own guys don't know. So we actually have a meeting with Eileen Flores with SCE, and it's a perfect time to bring those things to the forefront because we have probably 4 or 5 separate projects
That we're waiting on them.
Yes, and we can basically hold their feet to the fire to get them done because we've been waiting for a while. We actually just got the poles relocated on Pacific as part of the Palomino project. That's been in works for a couple years.
Right.
Yeah, they're in no rush.
Okay. No pun intended with your comment, but yeah. They have every job everywhere impacted, just done with them. But I'd appreciate if you'd bring that up to her. Amanda?
Just want to let everybody know that we do have the Gold Star Mothers and Families Day coming up, September 28th at 6 p.m. at the Veterans Memorial Plaza. So we'd love to see all of you there. Thank you.
Thank you. Colin?
Nothing, thank you.
Lisette? Joshua? Alma? I see our lieutenant back there. Any good news? No. Thank you. Greg? Robin? Pia? Kevin?
Quick. I want to remind everybody, and I'd like to get a report on this, on the regional housing needs assessment, the RENA numbers. One of the things we've been doing is doing a forgiveness. I want to make sure there's something maybe I said previously wasn't misconstrued. I want to legalize an ADU doesn't have to have somebody in it. All it has to have is the ability to have somebody in it. And I want to get it legal, because the faster we can legalize RENA, get our RENA numbers up. What is it, 306, 306, 306, 308, 3...
No, I believe it's 434, I believe.
434. God. It was 7 until Rusty Bailey went and screwed us. Anyway, my point is that I'd like to get a status report if we've gotten anything in terms of what we're trying to do is we're doing the forgiveness program to see if we can increase those numbers. And I'd really like to see if we need to tweak it, if we need to figure it out. I mean, if you could grandfather them in, we could automatically say 600 ADUs are legal, and we're legal. I mean, seriously, I mean, I'm all for that. So I would like to get a report. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Mr. Cahan, I want to thank you for your friendship and for all that you've done for the city. One of the great volunteers in our history. You drove me completely nuts at times, completely pissed me off at times. Always appreciated your sense of humor and the subtle aspect of that. And I think that's the part that we'll always connect on, okay? And I just want to wish you and your family much success. Enjoy the ticks and the chiggers and the humidity. All right. Appreciate all you've done, Jeff, for everything for the city. Thank you. With that, thank you all. We're adjourned.